Hi, good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Alex and Mo I Am a PT podcast. And tonight we have none other than the GOAT, Mr. Jerry Durham, PT.
Yeah,
Hi,
the
Jerry,
man.
how are you?
I'm doing well. Thanks for having me. You know, when I saw you guys had a show, I set my timer to see how long it was going to take you to invite me. So I appreciate you guys inviting me
Well,
on the show.
well, see, we couldn't get the guest list going until we had you first.
All right.
Um,
Well, if I'd have seen another
so
guest, if I'd have seen another guest on here first, there would have been hell to
no, man, we can't think of anybody better to have on. You obviously a cool person, cool personality, bring a lot to the profession. So I mean, no better way than for Mo and me to kick off the guest list than to have the man, the myth, the legend himself on. So
Amen.
thank you for taking the time out of your busy schedule to join us. This is gonna be a fun one. This is gonna be a fun one.
Cool. Well, I love what you got. Alex, I know we connected on Twitter. Monique, we connected on Twitter too, did we not? We had to.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
very good.
Actually, you sent me a DM, I think almost like 8 years ago.
That's right.
And I think I was new to Twitter, and you just were like, "Hey, I'm in DC. Want to connect?" I was like, "Sure,
Yeah,
no problem."
yeah.
And
So
you
and then
are the first person to get me to drink gin.
cheers.
I have that in.
Is that a happy dad, Alex?
It sure is. That's my new favorite drink. We need to get them to sponsor us.
That's
Reach
great.
out to the small ones.
That's good, dude.
But yeah, Jerry and I met on Twitter as well. I had the pleasure of meeting Jerry in person when Lauren and I. So it'll be like 7. Well, Sebastian's turning 6 on Sunday, so it was definitely right before we had Sebastian.
Yeah.
So almost like 7 years now. Lauren and I took a trip to San Francisco, and kind
Wow.
of as our last little hurrah before we started the process to have the boys, and met up with Jerry in San Fran. He hooked us up with his. You still, when you head over west, I don't know if he still goes out there, but to that winery that you got us hooked up on, and it was awesome, man. It was awesome, and that was my first time meeting him. And from then we've kind of, obviously we've hit it off, and he's yeah, cool peoples, man. Definitely one of the, between you and him, were probably the first big interactions that I had on Twitter, and it's been pretty cool to see it grow. Our relationships, and then just everything else going on with Twitter.
Yeah, it's been a good place. I was just on did a webinar podcast, something with the Journal of PT the other day, and we were talking about, it was about social media, and I was looking around the room. It's like everybody in this room I met on Twitter. There was like no other place, and where was I before I got on here? And where was I today? And where was I an hour before I was here? Right? It just, there's always something there to be had, or conversation to be had. So it's all
Yeah,
good.
and that's what I enjoy about Twitter the most. I think out of all social media platforms is it gives you a good platform to have some conversations, some banter, meaningful conversations, trash talking, whatever it is. It gives you that opportunity to have that interaction and reach a big scale. And I think for us in the PT profession, it's definitely been a huge platform for us to be able to connect with therapists, entrepreneurs, different specialties. Like everything kind of comes together there, and it just gives you an opportunity to bounce ideas off. Like I love when I look on the timeline and somebody's like, "Hey, I got this problem going on. Tell me your thoughts. Like, what do you think? What don't you think? What do you like? What don't you like?" It gets hard, especially in home health, when you're by
Yeah.
yourself all day, every day, to kind of have some thoughts and to be able to bounce ideas off of people. So it kind of gives you that camaraderie without actually being there, which is something that I enjoyed when I was at an outpatient at the University of South Florida.
Yeah.
It was just having people around that you could bounce ideas off professionally. You can sit and talk shop, talk sports, talk all that stuff. Like you can do all of that with Twitter.
Yeah, exactly. And just if you're there 10, 15 minutes, man, scrolling, you're bound to run into everything you just said, right?
Yeah.
And it's good because I have found, you guys know me, I love hearing from people who use our services, right? I have found more patients on Twitter than anywhere else, right? Than any other social media platform. So, and have connected with, right? And continue to see in my thread people who are patients or consumers of physical therapy or healthcare and see their take on things. So yeah, it's a good diverse group. And God knows, man, baseball seasons, today was the last, or tomorrow, this week's the last spring training. Baseball is going to be on, and everybody knows I get unbearable for about 181 games.
Yes.
Yeah, I'd rather watch paint dry.
Beat LA Rams. I mean, what's behind the hatred with LA? Seriously, like
What's that?
Why do you hate? What is behind the hatred for LA teams? Why do you hate LA
It's it just come move to Northern California. You'll learn it in about 5 minutes. It just to this day. I'm 55 years old. I still cannot believe my wife and I moved to Los Angeles, because when you grow up north, right, you go to Los Angeles, you visit, you leave. And I never thought we'd live there. And of course, right, and let's face it, growing up, the Lakers kicked everybody's ass. And Magic Johnson was my favorite player all time. So, I mean, I was a huge Laker fan because the Warriors were so bad. The Giants were so bad, right? And so, but I was never a Dodger fan, never an Angels fan. Right? So it is what it is, right? There's a hockey team up north, one down south, baseball up north, down south, multiple, and then there's basketball. And it used to be. Remember, we had the Oakland Raiders and the LA Raiders, right? And it used to be the LA Rams, but the Niners and Rams. This year, right? They're in the same division. So, I mean, they've always been in the same division. So it's just the way if you're a sports fan, you take one or the other. And we have no patience for anybody who well, no, I'm a Lakers fan, but I like the Giants. And you're like, no, there's no.
It was like territory.
Yeah. You're one or the other. Yeah.
So are you in LA full time now? You're still going back and forth?
No, so I'm in Philly now, and we're coming back and forth more. For better, for worse, with COVID, my wife's. This is my office. Been my office since we moved here, right? In 19, and my wife was going in the office, and then COVID hit, and right, you wake up, and my wife's set up a shop downstairs in the kitchen and hasn't left. And they only go back for quarterly meetings. So we have been going back to California more and more, especially, right, our family. Dude, everybody. We got nobody out here. There's zero family. So we have all my wife's family, all my family is in California. So, and both my in-laws are still alive. My mom's still alive, right? My twin brother's out there. My sister's out there. Both my nephews are out there. I mean, everybody's out there. So, right, once COVID, once the whole travel thing started to mellow out a little bit, we started going back more. We're going back again next month.
Nice. How'd you end up in Philly, though?
We had an opportunity.
Okay.
It was by choice. And my wife and my brother lived here 23 years ago. And we had come out here and we loved it. And the proximity to New York, to DC, to Europe, we've actually, after COVID hit, we canceled 2 trips going overseas. But the goal was to come out here, right, do some work and get to see as much of the East Coast as possible, get over to Europe once or twice, and then go back to California. And so now we're finally starting to ramp that back up. So
nice.
yeah.
Nice.
So, and we're digging it. I'm very glad we moved out here. Fortunately, the family stayed healthy during COVID, so there were no regrets, and I'm still real happy we're out here. So
Awesome, dude. That's awesome.
Yep. So that's that. So what else we got?
So, well, I was just mentioning to you before Alex joined the studio that I was looking at ESPN and I saw that the Lakers are not going to make the playoffs. I think this is going to be the first time in LeBron James' NBA career that he doesn't make the postseason.
Oh, interesting.
So that has already killed the myth that he makes every team better that he's on.
That
Hold on, but didn't he miss the playoffs when he first started with Cleveland?
well, maybe at the very beginning. Yeah, probably at the very beginning. At the very beginning. But
at the very beginning. Well, I'll excuse him. He was 18 years old.
Yeah.
Come on, man. I mean, you were getting primetime shows for your high school games. I don't want to hear it.
yeah.
But
I know you're gonna come hating me tonight because your Tar Heels lost. Blue a big 50-point lead last night.
Listen, like I said on Twitter, Christmas came early in Kansas. We flat out choked. I mean, they gave the game away. But with that said, I mean, Hubert Davis's first year coaching.
It's his first year coaching?
After Roy. This was his first season. Roy retired last season. This was his first season as a head coach. Took him on an amazing run. I mean, they were obviously very fortunate to have, like Brady Manick, who was a transfer from Oklahoma, I believe. So they had some experience on the team, but man, it was an awesome run. I think overall it was a great tournament from start to finish. A lot of good games, but you can't give up 15-point leads to a program like Kansas. But they still had a shot at the end.
Yeah, I saw that. They had the final shot. I don't know how long ago I lost interest.
I'm sure he cried last night, Jerry. You can see it in his eyes.
Here's the other thing. Like,
I woke up seeing you guys on freaking Twitter, so I knew it wasn't pretty.
I was struggling just to make it to the end. That's way past my bedtime, especially on the East Coast. As Jerry's probably figured out from watching sports on the West Coast to the East Coast.
Dude, my Warriors, they probably started like 10 o'clock tonight.
Yeah, it's crazy over here.
The playoffs started like 10:40.
I remember one year I went to Vegas on business. It was during football season. I flew in on a Sunday. And I got in there, it was like 9 a.m, and I flipped the channels. I'm like, yeah, it's time for football. I'm like, man, this is perfect.
Football, dude. You are exactly right.
Like, you get up, have brunch, mimosas, and football.
You got it, dude.
I mean, it doesn't get any better than that. But yeah, the Tar Heels.
You're complaining about late night sports. Baseball, they have like 9, sometimes 11 innings, and they run.
So
run late at night.
There are Giants games that go till 2 a.m.
Oh no, I couldn't do that though.
Oh no, I don't stay up for them.
I'll just check the box.
I know Mike is, if he's listening, he's probably gonna be like, but Monique, cricket is just as boring. But I don't know. I can't watch baseball on TV. I can only do that.
I can't watch much baseball either. I mean, if I go to a game here and watch the Rays play like live, I can get into that.
I've been to the Rays, dude. I've been to that place. That is ugly. But I've been there.
Atrocious. And they're trying every which way to get a new stadium, to put it in actual Tampa, because the stadium's out in St. Pete. So if you live in Tampa.
Yeah, dude, I took an Uber and I was like, where's this guy taking us? And it was like, even when he pulled up, I was like, where are we?
Yeah, you're a solid hour outside of Tampa to get there.
Yeah.
And it's just not, it's not in a good area for the people that would truly support that team. Then they were trying to get them to go to Montreal half the season. And
which I thought they were. They were supposed to play half the season in Montreal.
Yeah, but MLB nixed that. So yeah, it's interesting. I mean, you get it here in Tampa. They got a pretty good, I would say, a good sports crowd. Obviously it helps when you're winning championships with the Lightning and
the Lightning and the Bucks, dude. Yeah.
But Yeah, that's crazy. But here again, this is Yankee spring training, so you got a ton of Yankee fans around here.
And you got the Phillies. Phillies corporate is in St.
Clearwater. In Clearwater, I think.
Clearwater. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Okay.
yeah, this is a pretty big baseball town. I've just growing up. I mean, in Miami, we didn't have a team. Marlins came after, so I was a Braves fan for a while, and then I just kind of lost interest in it. It was hard, to kind of keep up with it. So I always joke with Jerry and others. I'm like, yeah, I'd much rather watch paint dry or anything like that. But then, they'll hit me with the golfing, which for some is just as bad. But as you can see from my hat, this is a big week because it's the Masters. And TW's playing, so this is gonna be a good week.
I'm glad to see that he's back after that bad car accident. But do you really think he's gonna make the cut? That's a lot of walking. Jerry and I were talking about how big.
Talk about how much a walk it is. It's a 5 mile.
Yeah, it's over 5 miles. You
Yeah.
really
So
think
here's the thing. Obviously, I've never met
How old is
before.
Tiger now? How old is Tiger?
Say it again.
How old is Tiger Woods now?
Tiger is 40 something.
Okay.
Tiger's 40 something. But here's the thing, as much as I've watched Tiger, I've read a couple books on Tiger. Tiger's very methodical about how he does everything. And Tiger's not the type of person that would show up to Augusta if he didn't already know that he was going to be able to play and he was going to be able to play at a level where he thinks he can win. He'd much rather not play than to go out and half-ass it. Now, does that mean that he's going to execute his shots and be able to score? I mean, it's golf. Nobody knows that. But I have no doubt that he's physically ready to do it. The other thing too is he knows this course like he knows his kids, He knows every aspect of this course. So I'd like to believe that all the training that he was putting and all the time that he was putting leading up to this was very, very specific to what he knew he would have to do on this course. I think for him, it's like the perfect course. He loves playing that course. There are some hills. I read something that he some people noticed him kind of moving a little slower, like on 17 and 18, because the hills are a little bit much more treacherous. But I expect him to make the cut, because everything that I've read so far, his short game is right on point, and that's how you score. I mean, he's got enough to where he can kind of, if he gets a little wild with his driver, he can, or off the tee, he's got enough good short game to kind of make up for it. So, I think he'll make the cut. It would be awesome to see him in contention on Sunday. But I don't think he would be playing if he didn't feel like he had a chance to win. Now, obviously, that isn't thinking you can win and actually winning are two completely different things, especially in the game of golf.
Okay.
But yeah, I think he's the type of person that if he couldn't do it to the level that he wanted to, he just wouldn't do it. And for him to show up in Augusta and like the whole game time decision, like that's just Tiger playing the media and just kind of building up the expense. Like,
there's no way someone of his caliber is going to show up and say and then walk away from it.
Yeah, no, like when he made the decision to fly into Augusta, he knew he was playing. He knew he was playing.
Okay.
It was just a matter of let me go through these practice rounds, make sure I don't hurt myself, and then have to withdraw at that point, So he'd rather just say, look, I know I'm playing. Let's go out, play some holes, and see how my body holds up on the actual course. And unless something, crazy happens, we're ready to roll. So I got to check. I think tee times came out today.
Okay.
So I hope the Masters server, whoever's handling their website is ready to go because, obviously, I don't know if you know, but the Masters doesn't give TV rights in the mornings.
Mhm.
So like ESPN has them, but ESPN has to wait till like 3 p.m. to be able to pick up the feed.
Oh.
So anybody that they'll pick featured groups and they will stream it on their website and on their app. But that's the only way you can watch prior to 3 o'clock. And I'm sure it would behoove them to put Tiger on
Yeah, right. Oh, they know.
and draw as much.
So,
But
so
yeah,
let me ask you a question, Alex. You're a home health therapist. So how you can be very flexible with your schedule. How are you scheduling your patients now that the Masters is about to? Because I'm curious.
so
I know when I was in college, I built my schedule around soap operas. So I did not have a class from 12:30 to 1:30, well, 2 o'clock. Both
That is
younger
awesome.
and born beautiful.
so typically what I'll do is I'll try to get obviously everything scheduled in the morning, but I base it off of Tiger's tea time. So
okay.
obviously either Thursday or Friday he'll start early, and then the other day he'll start late, right? So like let's just say without me looking at it, Thursday he got the earlier tea times, so I know he's off in the morning sometime. So usually I'll just put it up in my car so that I can listen to it. And then I'll just have it playing in the background. Most of my patients really don't care. I'll just have it playing so that I can hear it. Some of them will be like, "What? Show me!" Like, so we'll sit there and watch. And then if I have to get into the afternoon, a good amount of my patients are actually watching it.
Okay.
So we'll watch it. But yeah, usually I always pray that the Friday he goes off in the afternoon so that I can end early Friday, come home, grab some beers or whatever, and just lay it up on the couch. Like this is always like it's a rough week because again it's Sebastian's birthday on Sunday.
Yeah.
So it's always like a special week for me because it's the Masters. It's the time when I became a father and all that stuff, and so it's fun. I always tell Sebastian's not old enough to really understand at this point, but I always tell my wife, I'm like, one of these years I'm gonna have to miss his birthday because I'm gonna have to get to Augusta. So, but yeah, because it's funny because when Lauren was pregnant with Sebastian, she ended up on bed rest a week before they induced her. So like that Thursday, he was born on Sunday. So like this year, it lines up to where it was the exact same timeline as when he was born. So like Thursday, she's in the hospital. Friday, she's in the hospital. And nothing's going on. Like we're just kind of waiting and whatever. So I'm literally in the hospital because I would go to work and then come back and stay with her. I'm just watching the Masters. So I'm like laying in the bed in the hospital room with her, watching the Masters, and she's just, poor thing, uncomfortable and just can't get to that point. So come Saturday, now they're like, okay, we're gonna start inducing, blah blah blah. Well, she's like going through it, man. Like I'm there supporting her, but at the same time, the Masters is on the TV. so then Sunday morning, he's finally born. We get him, everything's good. And then Sunday afternoon, I'm holding my newborn son, watching the Masters.
I know.
And she's always like, man,
yeah.
God, I look it up and I try to remember it. It was never anybody like a known golfer. It was like a one and done type thing, which was like in the back of my mind, I was like, man, I wish Tiger would have won. Like that would have been like super cool. But yeah, Lauren always like, yeah, I was giving labor and Alex is just laid up watching the damn Masters. So yeah, it's always a good time for me, like laid up. So, and with my parents and everybody, we'll have everybody over this weekend to celebrate his birthday and the Masters will be on TV. So,
Okay.
So good time.
That's good. That's good. It all came together.
About Augusta, right? Are they allowing women to attend Augusta now? Because I remember there was a time where women weren't allowed.
So women have always been allowed to go watch, at least the last 10, 15 years. I think within the last 5 to 10 years, they allowed women members. And Condoleezza Rice, if I'm not mistaken, was the first female member at Augusta. They've evolved now. I mean, they just had this last weekend. women's amateur was at Augusta, and a 16-year-old girl won it.
Okay.
So they've evolved. I mean, they've trying to kind of catch up to terms. Obviously, that club is a very prestigious club. A lot of money is what it takes.
It's hard to let go of tradition, right?
Oh, yeah.
Even in physical therapy, right?
Yeah, so it's just kind of wild that everything that goes along with it. But yeah, it's a pretty cool. Like, I just read something today that this guy that won the Masters 2011-13 for Argentina, Angel Cabrera, he's locked up in jail in Argentina.
Oh, is he really?
Yeah, I was like the craziest thing because I remember
that name, dude.
I remember that Masters because it goes to a playoff. He hits a tee shot off to the side. It hits off a tree and bounces into the middle of the fairway. And that's how he wins because he hits that shot, gets the luckiest bounce ever, and he goes on to win. So I'm just reading something on like Facebook of all places because I don't go on Facebook that much. And an article from him, like he's locked up in Argentina, like domestic violence and like all this crazy stuff. I'm like, good God. But like this dude just won the Masters like not too long ago. Wow. So yeah, pretty crazy. But anyways, let's get to
So Jerry, is there any sporting activity that would make you reshuffle your schedule?
So when I was
anything that you put everything aside to watch?
Yeah, when the Giants, so during 10, 12, and 14, trying to make sure I have my years straight. They still had day games. So I was moving my schedule. Oh my God. Every week I was moving my schedule, right? Because there were day games. Now there are no more day games, except for the weekends, I think. So everything's night games now. But oh yeah, I was meeting my buddy. There's a guy, he now lives in London. He was a patient of mine. We became good friends and both Giants fans. But we were meeting at the same bar. First one at the bar, got the seats. And we watched so many of the day games, right? The day games. Yeah, I was moving my schedule around like crazy during the Giants playoffs. Yeah.
Well, another time that typically will happen too, which unfortunately my country's not going to be there this year, is the World Cup.
World Cup.
The World Cup is another one.
Right? All times of the day.
Alex wanted to watch the qualifying game because Colombia was
not only that, but I ended up getting crazy sick as well. So, but yeah, the World Cup is another one that I've kind of rearranged stuff, and then it always gets tricky depending on what country they're playing it in and the time change and all that stuff. I remember there was one year, I can't remember, I think it was when it was played in Korea. I'm getting up at like 3-4 in the morning to watch a game. And that tends to happen with the British Open when Tiger plays the British Open.
Right.
It's the same thing. Like you're waking up at 3-4 in the morning, depending on what time he's teeing off. So.
Oh yeah, for sure. Right. 5 hours earlier here. Yeah.
It's crazy.
Like 8 a.m. Yeah.
Yeah. It's crazy what we do as sports fanatics to get our bit in.
Definitely the World Cup for me too. I actually want to go one. Well, since every 4 years, but I didn't feel comfortable going to Qatar to support it because of all the speculations behind how they got to host the World Cup. So
I think hopefully the US is trying to get, what is it, 26?
Yeah. So hopefully they'll get it. And if it does, then I'll definitely be there because when they hosted the Olympics in Atlanta, that was the first ever time I actually went to an Olympic Games. I didn't get to go to one in Brazil, which I really wanted to do as well too. But Jerry, how long have you been a physical therapist?
Yeah, hold up. Did TNT qualify for the World Cup?
No, we didn't. Stop it.
No, I don't know. That's why I'm just trying. Colombia didn't, dude?
No.
Colombia neither?
It's
No,
the
man,
CONCACAF is pretty crazy
we've
though.
sucked for years,
Wow.
and we're playing in the Concacaf. So
Oh, you
Canada
are. Oh,
qualified.
so we're all in the same thing, right?
Well,
Yeah,
I play. Our Colombia plays in the CONMEBOL, so it's the South American.
Oh,
But
okay.
the
yeah.
U.S.
So
and North America, Central America play together.
Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
So
Okay.
we play against Canada, the U.S., Mexico, Panama,
Yeah.
Guatemala, El Salvador. So yeah, no, we've sucked for a while. So I don't expect to see us in there anytime soon. Imagine the U.S. is making the World Cup and we haven't in a while. So it's crazy, but yeah.
I saw we just qualified, right?
Yeah,
Yes.
they got in as a third place.
That's what I thought.
So the last time we qualified for the World Cup was when it was hosted in Germany.
Oh, okay.
So
Yeah.
Yeah, because they missed the last one.
It's been a while. Yeah, it's been a while. But so how long have you been a physical therapist, Jerry?
28, 29 years.
Wow,
I had hair.
that's a pretty long time, huh?
I had hair in my beard. And I had all my teeth.
And you had all your teeth. Okay. Well, did you play a hockey game or something?
Another long story. Well, it's a long, short story. The tooth was dead forever, and now the implant has failed. So I don't know what I'm going to do.
Don't worry. When you get to LA, you got some high quality people over there, bro.
Yeah, dude, you are right. You're my little gold tooth, dude.
Here's what I was born with a gap, and because I sucked my thumb as a kid, even though my dad hated it so much. I mean, he tried all sort of stuff to get me to stop sucking my thumb. So I widened the gap. So there it is.
Hey, straight hand. It worked for straight hand.
Yeah, right.
What?
So yeah,
so
29 years.
29 years. Okay. And you also co-owned a physical therapy clinic, right?
No, not anymore. I've been out of that for about 12 years now.
12 years. Okay. So
I had that. Now, mind you. Oh, whoa, wait. 12 years? Yeah, I was in that, man. They all start to run together. So yeah, I've been a physio for about 28, 29 years now. 28, let's say.
Mm-hmm.
Had the business for about 17, but I have probably
it's got to be at least 11, Jerry, because when I met up with you in San Fran, you were still part of it.
Yeah.
And Lauren and I had just been married
a
couple of years at that point. So, and we just celebrated our 11th year. So it's at least
so that close. Yeah. So I've been out of it probably close to 10.
So how did you transition from, multiple clinic owner in the San Francisco Bay Area to what you're doing now, which is a lot of front desk training?
Yeah. All the work I'm doing today started in that business. So when we went out of network in that, business about 8 years in. So we had 3-4 sites. We're in network with anybody, and about 8 years in, we're like, we got to drop. Forget who the first one. We dropped 3 years in a row. So 1, 2, and 3, and we were done. So, and we just did them in order of the contract, the crappy contract. And so as we started to drop the contracts, I'll never forget this. It was so long ago. I can't tell you dates, but I can remember a couple things. I remember my partner coming to me and going, right, we're done negotiating. We got to drop this contract. So I was like, we're going out of network? And he went, yeah. I went, okay. I go, when are we going out in network? And he says, first of the year. I literally remember thinking we have to start talking to people differently on the phone. Because now we couldn't say we were in network. Now we couldn't say, right, yeah. Now we couldn't say we were in network. And I was like, if we don't start talking to people differently on the phone, we're not going to have any business. We'll cease to exist. And we both made a pact to say, look, we're going to learn the business side of this thing hardcore, and we're going to make this thing work, which we did. And if we wouldn't have acknowledged that from the get-go, then there was no option but to shut it down, right? And man, I got to tell you, and I'm going to throw our profession under the bus, which you guys know I'll do at any day and time, right? We go out looking for help, right? So where do we go? We go to our colleagues in the profession. Zero. Not only did we get zero help, but we also got all the pushback. Oh, you can't do that. I'm like, it's too late for that. I'm like, we close or we go out of network and learn how to do it. Oh, you can't do that. No one will pay. I'm like, thanks for telling me that, but it's a moot point. So we got, I mean, it's still to this day, it's unfortunate the amount of negative feedback, like just, oh, you can't do that. And we weren't coming to people saying, should we do it? So I will tell you, so then Sturdy was looking, we both were looking for resources, and Sturdy found a group called EO, Entrepreneurs Organization, and they're an international organization, and they had a branch in San Francisco. And that year, that group had 100 members. So we went and joined. We were like the 103rd member. And I'll tell you and I don't say this facetiously, I say it in hindsight, one of the best things about EO, zero healthcare members. So there were 103 business owners, founders in EO. And when we joined, there were zero. Actually, I lied. There was one, and she was a cosmetic surgeon. There was one healthcare provider as a member. So we were in a business group to get business mentoring and business education from business people, and not a one of them, but we'll pretend, not a one of them in healthcare. That was a huge tipping point. And that's what kept us in business, right? Joining them and learning about the business. That also was where I really got, where I found out that, whoa, wait a minute. This isn't a healthcare versus business thing. This is a all healthcare thing. So those things I started learning and implementing at SF Sport and Spine PT, right? It started to work. Well, thankfully so, right? And then I went and answered the phones and just kept learning all I could. And then we hired people and built the systems. And when I saw what we had done there, I took a big step back and went, look, this isn't some magical fucking Alice in Wonderland, right? Magical novel. This is how you run a business. And so I went, I wonder if this is to answer your question, how'd I get here? I started going, I think this can help other people, right? And so I said, look, I started going to people and going, look, it worked for me. It might work for you. And so I started sharing this with people. And and dude, at this point now, here we are, 2022, I have helped peds clinics. I've got more women's health clinic right now as clients than anything else. So I've helped peds clinics, women's health clinics, obviously musculoskeletal clinics, clinics in gyms, in network, out of network, hybrid. I mean, it doesn't matter the model. It has worked because it is the business of how you run a business, right? And that is what I learned, 10 years into my business that kept me afloat, that I found is still missing. By the way, I was on the phone with 2 other people today, 2 brand new clients that are probably going to sign up. And it's the same thing. Guys tell me, yeah, I want to sell in 3 years. I'm like, what are you going to sell? Right? And he acknowledges, I don't know. I don't have the stuff in place. And I'm like, cool. Dude, I am still bringing back the same stuff, right, that I initially learned when we went out in network, and I went, oh my God, I have to learn how to run a business now. So yeah, that's how I went from there to here. And what I found was I don't like managing people. And I'm going to tell you right now, you really don't want to be managed by me. So I didn't want to stay in something where I didn't care if I was an owner, a director, nothing, man. It was like, this is not what I want to do. I didn't want to treating here. I'll say this out loud, and we're recording this. I was not a good PT, my friends. Was not a good PT.
What makes a good PT, Jerry? What do you think makes a good PT?
I'll tell you what makes a good PT, and this is this word empathy. I'm going to go down this route, right? I was not a very empathetic person, and I was not a very I could be compassionate, but it was very, very spotty. But there's a thing called, right? It's interesting when you look at the word sympathy, empathy, and compassion. And I'd be sympathetic, but sympathetic was more like, Alex, I understand. You know, the same thing happened to me. And then I'd start talking about me, right? Which is literally the opposite of empathy. And so I had a really hard time, and you guys know me well. I had a hard time keeping myself on one line or the other. And by the way, it took me forever to figure this out. A good physical therapist can cross that line and be compassionate and be empathetic and leave all their shit behind. And that is hard. And no one ever taught me that. No one ever even talked about that, right? I had to reflect back on it and go, wow, I sucked at that. So I'm going to tell you guys right now, the bulk of stuff I train people on right now, I'm like, by the way, the reason I know you have to do this, I didn't do it. How do we leave me out of it? I used to tell everybody, right? Oh, Alex come in, talk about his baseball team. I'd make it about the Giants. Monique can come in, talk about her dog. I'd make it about my dog, right? And I look back and reflect, and I'm like, oh, I did that all the time. And so I had a hard time coming in and leaving, right? And going, okay, Jerry, it's now time to give, literally give to these other people. And it would come and go, but it was way too spotty. So by the way, my drop-off rate was huge. People were dropping off all the time, right? But why should they stay? By the way, it's my own business too, right? Why should they stay? So yeah, to be honest, so that's why I got in the business side. I got burned out at treating the patients really quickly. Well, that was created by me. I don't blame anybody but me now. You know, and so then I was looking for what can I do? Well, the front end, right? The phone call stuff I love, right? And so I started answering the phones and doing all that phone work, which fortunately benefited my business and is where I learned greater than 51% of what I now teach everybody else to do. So, yeah, so it's interesting because I got out of the patient care because I burned out quickly because I sucked at it. I'll say that in front of anybody. By the way, I finally came to that realization about 3-4 years ago. Yeah, that was a little difficult where I was like, damn, I suck.
So you mentioned, you know, teaching and obviously that's how you take on your clients and teach them what you've learned or the business aspects that will help them lead to success. You know, obviously this is something that most of us, I mean, I'm going to speak for myself. Like I didn't get this in PT school, right? We don't even touch this subject in PT school. Do you do anything with students? Have you thought about maybe a component of your business being something that you can now sell to universities or DPT programs to help bridge that gap so that it doesn't necessarily take a new clinician, you know, 5-6 years to kind of fill that void, as opposed to, because, you know, there's a lot of young therapists that, you know, they have that drive, that entrepreneurial spirit, but they just don't know where to go.
Correct.
We don't even have any guidance in school. So it's like, I want to do this, but where do I go? Like, how do I even get started? So do you have anything for students, is that something you've thought about?
Yes, I've thought about it. And 2, I don't have anything. And I'll tell you, I have thought about it because what I want to do to your point, you pretty much outlined it, Alex. I want to put together like a $79 product, literally, right? That you buy and you have access to, that basically takes you through the mindset, right? The mindset of running a business. And kind of, I tell everybody, and it kind of sounds like a cliche, but God, it's a God's honest truth. It's like, look, Alex, let's say you came to me, Alex, and you were starting. I'd say, Alex, you're going to make mistakes. Let's just make sure you don't make mine. How about that, right? So what I always say is, look, I want to cut down the number of mistakes so we can increase the speed. It took me forever to get to a level where I was like, I think I know what I'm doing. It took for fucking ever. And what I'm trying to do is shorten that learning curve. And I tell people all the time, right? What I can give you is speed. I've had people, check this out. This is no joke. I've on 2 occasions, I look down in my Facebook Messenger and I have a message from someone. I have no idea who they are. It's their full name. Hi, my name is so-and-so. And it's a message that looks like an email. They say, this has happened to me twice. I found your podcast or I found your YouTube page. I went through it all. I took it, I implemented it, and here's the success I've had with it. That's happened twice. So back to this point of, real quick, right? I've got all this stuff out there. I've thought about putting something together, but in a way, it's sitting out there for everybody who wants it right now. So, and that just really came in as I was talking about the stuff I put together over the years. And if you came to me, and because my thing is, look, I want to cut down, right? I want to increase your speed to success. And this is what helps me to sleep at night, right? 2 things help me to sleep at night where I can go to sleep totally comfortable with myself. A is I know I'm always putting the patient first, right? Any work I do with anybody is how do we make your patient successful? And then number 2, everything I get paid to do exists in my free world. Podcast, YouTube. So I still want to put something together. And I'm surprised you brought that up. You're like the first person to ever ask me that, because I have thought about that a lot and I still probably will. But there, between my YouTube and my podcast page, there's about everything anybody could need if they just went and started engaging with it.
And how do they find you? Like,
so by the way, it says Jerry Durham PT here. So my Instagram is Jerry Durham PT. My Facebook is Jerry Durham. Twitter is Jerry Durham PT. LinkedIn is Jerry Durham PT, and I'm sharing a boatload on LinkedIn these days. So if anybody's there, connect with me. I connect with everybody there. So if anybody's out there, connect with me. And everything goes there too. And then the one thing that isn't is my my YouTube page is, drum roll please,
Jerry Durham PT.
Yeah, no joke. And I did that on purpose, right?
Well, yeah, it's the continuity of the brand. It's just easier.
Now, my podcast is what's best for the patient is best for business.
And I honestly do believe that, because the patient is the end user, but I'm going to take a knock on our profession as well too. We've always been a subservient profession. It seems like we always depend on someone else to give us patients. We depend on someone else to pay us. And it's like we have this scarcity mentality and scared mindset that, oh, I can't go out of network, or it can't be done this way. And it was interesting because in 2012, when I wanted to leave the outpatient setting and get into home health, and I ran my crazy idea with some other therapists, and they were like, nah, that's not gonna work. And I remember it was just crazy because I almost didn't go through with it, because I was like, everybody's saying it's not gonna work, but I just had this strong gut instinct, to keep going at it. And surprisingly, I get the DM from you, and you were like, meet up. And I shared what I was gonna get into, and you were like, man, that's brilliant. And I was like, really? So you were like one of the first people to confirm, like, and give support to the idea of, okay, doing the home health and then seeing them for outpatient at home after. So, but a lot of people like, where you're gonna get referrals from? They don't know you. You have to go marketing, and I didn't do any of that. And people found me on social media. The person who I had partnered with at the time didn't think that social media was good for business. She think that you had to do the traditional, marketing, going to a doctor's office, going to see case managers and stuff like that. But I was like, people Google everything, they Yelp everything, they're on Facebook, they're on Twitter, they're on Instagram, they're on TikTok. And if they see that you're interesting, you're sharing things that are positive and that are working, they will they will find you. So
By the way, if I
using
had $1 for everybody I get onto the phone now that says either oh yeah, I've seen you, oh yeah, I've heard you, right? Same thing.
Mhm.
You just got to be out there enough.
Well,
Yeah.
and Mo is like you and I say on this show, scared money don't make money.
Very true.
Closed mouth don't get fed.
That's life in general, dude, right?
So, but to Mo's point is like, our profession, even the perception of our profession by other medical professionals is one of, you need somebody else to do your job. You cannot do it on your own. Somebody needs to do something for you. So we have that mentality, and that's just kind of reinforced in PT school, because it's like, this is what you got to do, but you got to get an order, or this is what you do, but you have to make sure the doctor's okay with it. And I'm not saying that collaboration doesn't need to exist, but it's like, I'm a licensed individual.
It's not like this, right?
Yeah.
This.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's right. And we touched on this a couple episodes back. It's like, as PTs, it's almost like we're scared to put ourselves out there, because everybody else is saying, no, you can't do that. Or no, we've never done it like that. It's never been done like that. You need to stick to the mold. Well, guess what? That mold, the people that are stuck in that mold are getting left behind.
Well, look at telehealth now, you guys. I mean, telehealth's a perfect example. And man, when it came around and I was following up with people, what are you doing? Oh, I'm closed. You doing telehealth? No, I won't get paid. I'm like, you're closed. Yeah. You're not seeing patients. Yeah. You ain't getting fucking paid either fucking way. So why the fuck would you go serve your fucking people?
Yeah.
And now, right now, dude, not a day goes by. I had a conversation today with someone. When you read, well, and this is what's funny, right? We talk about the profession, right? Mm-hmm. When you read the papers outside of the profession, it doesn't, the papers that I'm most interested in, not the ones that of everybody saying, I want telehealth. It's the people going, yeah, I'll do telehealth. I'm like, that's all I need, right? So, I'm working with a couple clients right now. No, you're not going to open a telehealth business, but you're going to have a product, a hybrid product, right? And this is my thing way back when I had my clinic. I'm like, we are the most ego-driven profession on the face of the earth. Everybody's got to get in a car, drive to us, spend their money to see it. By the way, I love it. No, you got to come in for your eval to see if you're a fit. So I got to get in my car, drive 35 minutes, pay for parking, pay for the visit, spend an hour with you just to learn if I'm going to come back. I'm like, that's PT, my friends, right? I'm like, what better way than starting on a telehealth? So I'm working with clients now, putting together bundles, shall we call them, of in-person with telehealth, right? And I guarantee you, here's the kicker. I'll say this out loud. Yet again, we're doing this live. Everybody says, we can't charge the same amount. I'm like, you can't charge the same amount for what? It's a package. We're not paying for time. So everybody I'm working with, no one has lowered their price. It's the cost of a bundle. I'm like, how much does this bundle need to cost? I'm going to make numbers up. $1,000. Well, we have telehealth in there. Should it be cheaper? I'm like, no, it's $1,000 for that bundle. And actually, the fact they don't have to come in keeps the price up, right? We're saving them time, money, and energy, right? And so telehealth is another great example of what you both are talking about, right? That it's here. And by the way, you know the other beauty? The other day I showed someone, I'm like, how much? What's your capacity? I'm going to make numbers up here. You know, what's capacity? They're brick and mortar. What's your capacity? You know, I'm making numbers up. 500 visits a month. I'm like, right. So maxed out 500 visits. So what happens if I take 100 of these visits out and I assign it to someone for telehealth? You now have 100 more visits. I'm like, I can grow your company with no new space by you starting to understand how you can utilize telehealth as part of your service. Plus, by the way, now all of a sudden, it ain't the person who's 5 miles away. Now, right, you live 45 minutes away. Well, I'm not asking you to come 2-3 times a week. I'm asking you to come 3 times. Oh, yeah, I'll do that. The rest on top, oh, yeah. For your expertise, yeah. For someone like you, help people just like me, yeah. $1,200, sure, no problem. I'm like, right, we're growing your business, right? So just another example of right today, here and now, same thing, right? And we get in our own way. Oh, but I can't charge that, right? Because this is what, dude, every day I can just hear it, but it's only 15 minutes. Oh my gosh, but I can't charge the same amount. I'm like, cool, don't. Do it.
Why do you think they get so scared about pricing? Do you think it's?
I'll tell you what I think. I'll tell you, we are our profession is a very, what's the word I'm looking for? A nice profession. We're nice? Too nice. We're too nice. We're too nice in the sense that we care for people. Like it's in our nature to care for others, right? So we would much rather take a loss ourselves or cut ourselves down than to put our true value on the table for other people to appreciate.
I see it every day.
Because just listening to Jerry in his interactions with his clients, well, I can't do that. But it's on, like Jerry said, oh, it's only 15 minutes. Or should we lower the price? But why? Why?
I love doing that, Alex. Why would you lower the price? Because they're not in the clinic. I'm like, where did the value, here's the deal. You know what I say? Back to your point, Alex. We don't determine value. The person on the other end determines the value. I said, so bundle it up, offer them a price. By the way, if the next 5 people say yes, I'm going to recommend you raise the price. By the way, not $1,000, raise it $100.
And it's the same time, you know, in my opinion, the people that say no, thank you. I don't have to waste my time trying to convince you of anything.
I know, dude. And you know, if it's funny because I think you guys both know this. Part of my system is if we get to the end of the call, I'm on a call, right? First phone call with the other one of you. And I'm telling you about this program and you say it's not going to work. And, you know, I ask you a couple more questions and I find out truly, yeah, it's not going to work. Then my obligation is to offer you a solution. I used to have 2 numbers. When I was answering the phone in my business, I had 2 numbers of 2 clinics that I trusted that were in network. When people just said, I can't do it. I say, I hear you, Alex. So, Alex, I have 2 numbers of 2 places that when people choose not to come here, right, for whatever reason, these are the numbers I give them. Would you like one of them? Most people never took me up on them, but I had to know in my heart that I had that option for it, because I wasn't going to hang up on Alex, who said no. Because if I took Alex through this conversation and I checked all the boxes and we both agreed it was the right fit except for the price, I owed Alex. I can't hang up on him. It's not a mechanic service. It's a goddamn healthcare company, right?
Yeah.
And so I couldn't sleep hanging up on Alex. So even that, Alex, I'm like, no, we won't be the right fit for everybody. But damn, you better be prepared to help people who you aren't the right fit for. Find them the right place. And I used to do that for everybody.
And that's a good point, because it's real easy to just dismiss them at that point when they don't meet your criteria. So you're like, well, you're not my patient. We're not going to work. So you're kind of on your own. It just leaves a sour taste in their mouth, because it may not be reflective. They may not remember you per se as like, hey, Jerry just hung up on me, but they're going to be like, when I tried to get physical therapy,
yes,
I had this experience. So you know what? I'm not going to deal with physical therapy again. I couldn't even get them to help me get to the right place, let alone they're going to take care of my whatever physical ailment I may have.
100%. And so I tell everybody, look, at the least, you owe them a phone number of a place that may be able to accommodate them.
I think that has been a struggle that I've witnessed throughout my career as a physical therapist, that the lack of referrals. It's like some people, once they realize someone is not the right fit for them, they just leave it at that. They don't refer to someone else. And that's a stain on the profession. But there's something very profound that you said earlier, that value is determined by the person who receives it. And I hear people talk about the value of being an APTA member. And, people put out little things like access to journals, access to CEUs, access to this and that. But in this economic situation that we are in, with high inflation rates and wages are not even increasing substantially to the cost of living, people don't see that value. And I believe, like a lot of members, they insult non-members, and I think it is growing. And there's a saying in my country that you win more people with honey than you do with vinegar. And this thing that we have, where we belittle people who don't see that value that they see because they're in membership, it has to stop. And you have to meet the person where they're at and see what is it that they would value spending their money to become part of something, if they're not getting that value in return. So I remember after I graduated from PT school, I didn't renew my APTA membership. So I had lapsed for a while. And I only started back after, actually, the year I renewed my membership was the year I went to Anaheim for CSM. So that was a big gap between graduating from PT school in 2006 and when I met you at CSM in Anaheim. So because I didn't see the value. And based on the connections that I made with people that I had on Twitter and networking and stuff like that, I was like, you know what, there is some value to this. And I could probably step up and, be part of certain committees and, add value to it. And by sharing my experience and talking to more people, that's where I started getting value. So I wasn't getting value from reading journals or anything like that. I wasn't getting value like going to get a specialty or doing a residency. It was actually seeing people benefiting from the experiences that I had to share as well too. So value is different for everybody.
Yeah. And by the way, it's funny, as you were telling that story, I was going back and forth between not only the APTA and PTs, but are potential patients and the PTs they decide to do business with, right? And I mean, it's the same damn thing. So, but yet, right? Do you take my insurance? What's your insurance? Blue Cross Blue Shield? No. Click. I'm like, what are you doing? What they need? They want to know if we took their insurance. I'm like, they called it PT business. They've got something we can help them with. We owe them a couple more questions. By the way, I mean, if you think about it, when I went out in network, if I would have hung up on everybody like that, I would have been out of business in 30 days, right? And the business continued to thrive and strive for 8 more years, 10 more years, right? So because I got, do you take my insurance? And I went from no to going, well, can I ask you a couple questions first? And people going, yeah, finding out what they needed from us, making sure they understood if we could help them or not first, then having the insurance question, right? So yeah, it's interesting, Monique, is even from your side of the APTA, right? How we come across of, right, of this value conversation. And that's everything I do. It's like, do they know what they should value? And that's a yes or no question on the first phone call. And if the answer is yes, I'm like, well, why didn't they choose us? These 3 reasons. Cool. Okay. Did you give them the other phone number? Yeah. I'm like, cool. We did our job, right? Because this is what cracks me up, right? It's like getting people scheduled or converting people is supposed to be a zero-sum game. I'm like, no one schedules 100% of the people they call. And the places who do, they're lying to you anyway because they're not tracking all the leads. I'm like, so why is everybody so caught up on scheduling everybody? It's like, put the people on the schedule who will arrive, pay, and stay, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, again, I think, through our early interactions on Twitter, that was one of the big things that I picked up, similar to when I first got on Twitter, really started, interacting with you and others. It was when I made the decision to kind of go on my own from the hotel standpoint and contracting. And it was always like, one of the big things that always stuck to me is like, price is what you pay, value is what you get, and that's always stayed inside of me. Not only in me doing business and contracting with agencies and whatnot, but even as I educate patients, I make it a priority for me. I'm like, your healthcare, that's your priority. That's what you need to value the most. And you need to be your best advocate so that people know that this is what you value. Because when you don't care, you don't care, or the patient doesn't care about their own health, it's kind of hard for them to pick up on the value of what you're doing.
Right. So therefore, no one else is going to care. And it's like, if you won't, no one else is going to pick this up for you because it's you.
Yeah. So it's very interesting, and even with the APTA thing, I mean, I think Anaheim was probably the last time that I was an APTA member. I just personally haven't had the value and the things that you mentioned, Mo. Like, I can get that on my own, especially now with social media the way it is. I can do those things. But yeah, like I think that we don't value each other as fellow professionals. Like, you see it all the time on Twitter. I mean, it happens on any other platform, but we have this internal clash where you have a certain subset of people that think a certain way, and they are determined this is going to be the PT way. This is how we're going to do it. And then anybody that tries to do anything differently, it's like, no, you can't do that. You must do it this way. Right. So we have that internal struggle within us. So it's kind of hard to then grow from that to get other professionals to see us in a different light, to get the end user, clients, patients to see us any different, because we can't even come together within ourselves to have some sort of unison, a united front, right? Like, as a parent now, my wife and I always talk about It doesn't matter what's going on behind the scenes, but in front of these kids, we
Right,
need to be this.
Yeah, right.
Because then they know, like, okay, mom and dad are on the same page. They don't need to know all the stuff like, yo, we need to discuss this. I didn't really like that, or whatever the case may be, but we're here. So the perception to everybody else is, oh, it's one. They got everything going on. And I just feel like we're just in this bad spot where it's just like certain people want to do it a certain way, and if anybody challenges that way, we can't even have a civil conversation. Again, one of Mo and my priorities on this podcast is like just to listen, absorb the information, so that then you can act on it, or then you can do that. But we can't even do that as a profession. So damn, how the hell are we gonna get people to value what we're doing, or even just to feel comfortable charging $1,000 or whatever the case may be, when we don't value ourselves, we don't value each other. And I think the people that you probably have to work the hardest with are those people, are the ones that they need to see it within themselves. Like, hey, Mrs. Smith or Jimmy, Bobby, look, you're running this practice. You got to believe in it. You gotta value it, so that then everybody else can see the value.
Yeah, you'd be surprised what I see, man. Across all, right? Across, it's interesting. When I bring on a new client, I don't jump into anything, and yeah, I want to meet more of the team members, because those same people are bringing people in, the disconnect, right, between the value these people bring to the business and to overall patient success is incredible. Yeah.
I once met with a PT who it's like a PT owned group here in the Tampa Bay area. Early on, when I was thinking about doing certain things, and he said something to me that's always stuck with me. He's like, when you're running a business, it's kind of like driving a bus, right? You've got to have people. It's not just about filling up the bus, right? So you're not going to start a clinic and I'm going to hire 5 PTs off the street, whatever the case. Like, you need a job, everybody gets a job, right? Because it's about having the right people in the right seat of that bus, so that the bus can head in the direction that you're wanting it to go. And that's always stuck with me. And it's funny because my barber, young guy, and several years back, he decided that he was going to open his own shop. And we had that conversation, him and I, while he's cutting my hair, we sit there, we talk business or whatever. And I told him that. And it's funny, every time I go to get a haircut, every time, I've been going to him for years, he's like, Alex, bro, I'll never forget what you told me. Because now he's been able to get the right barbers in his shop that have the vibe that he wants. Like, he's got a certain vision as to how he wants it to go. And you can't just get anybody barber off the street. The same thing for a PT clinic. Like, you've got to have the right people in place that's going to kind of grow what it is that you're trying to grow.
Got it. 100%, dude.
Well,
just like either one of you guys brought people on, right, for your business, right?
Yeah, I feel in home health, especially I've seen with some agencies that people just hire people with a license. And I think like clinics get so desperate as well too that they do the same. And when you do that and you don't have, as Jerry would say, a good therapist, someone who has good soft skills, or they have fairly average hard skills, you're not going to be producing value to any patient. And they're not going to want to come back. So your cancellation rates are going to be high. Your drop-off rates are going to be high. And you're wondering why your business is struggling. And it's because you're not hiring the right people. I mentioned to Jerry earlier that I'm seeing more patients this past year than I did last year. And it's because I've had to let some of my clinicians go. Because sometimes you have to decide when it's time to cut off the limb that's rotting that could eventually eat away at your business reputation. So it's quality over quantity. Yeah.
Yeah, it only takes one. It only takes one to kill the vibe, and then the amount of resources required to
And
get that
because they'll
vibe.
start dragging other people out with them.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it starts off as one small thing, but like a cancerous tumor, it could spread. So you
So let
just
me
have
throw
to.
this out there. Let me throw this out there because it doesn't matter if it's a home health business or a barbershop. And this is because I had this call with someone not 2 hours ago, 3 hours ago. The key is to understand this is when you guys hear me talking about this patient journey, right? What is the journey this patient's on? And if because even the barbershop, dude, again, it doesn't matter who it is. And if you understand this experience you want to create for someone, then that means you understand all the touch points in your business. So you want to make sure it's consistent with the first phone call. You want to make sure it's consistent in the messaging they're reading, right? Our promises being made. Then someone arrives at your home health, and Monique walks in the room and literally repeats what was told to this person on the phone. That understanding of the flow of this person, your client, the haircut person, I don't care, through your business is what's key to then bringing on the right people in the right seats of the bus. Because I'm going to tell you right now, if you understand this whole journey and you understand who needs to deliver what, all of a sudden you're going to find yourself hiring people you didn't think you would hire before, right? And it was at this point, I've gotten on this kick a couple more times. I'm like, I don't need more leaders. Most of the businesses I work with don't need more leaders. I don't want people, no, no, no. They don't need leadership training. They need to want to fucking show up at work, help people get better, do their fucking notes, do what needs to be done in the office and go home. And everybody needs to be happy and high five that person.
And you'd be surprised how many people just want to do that.
You are correct. And by the way, let's go down that route. We they don't want to do leadership training. Oh, they don't want to do this. I'm like, no, they want to do the fucking work. That's what's happening.
They want to do the work and go home. You know, a good amount of what I do is that. And I tell people straight up, I'm like, look, when we do business together, you tell me who I need to see and then let it be. Because all I want to do is see that patient, get them what they need, and then I'm going home. Your notes will be done at 5 o'clock. Don't bother me.
I have talked to more clinics recently out of asking more of these people during this interview process I'm like, let's look at where you are right now in the business. Let's look at what's been missing. I said, you need someone who's going to show up and do the fucking work. I'm like, why are you looking? And there's always these other boxes they want checked, right? No, I want them to go out and do. I'm like, you don't need someone to do the marketing. No. Someone to come and treat the patients. Yeah. So this is what's it, because this fits Monique's example. This fits the barbershop example. If we understand this journey, then we will be happy to insert people. We don't need 10 leaders, man. I'm so tired of that. Oh, God.
Yeah.
I'm tired of it. Because,
So
as you said, Alex, there are people out there that want to do the work and go
home. Want to work and go home, man. Yeah, there's a lot of therapists, and you see them. You know, we run into them in our interactions. There's people that literally just want to see the patients. They want the patients to get better, and then they just want to go home to enjoy their family. That's it. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. If you pay them well.
By the way, more of them, I guarantee you, more of them are needed than they know. Everybody's looking for these leaders, and then those are the people they keep flushing out. And these are the people that start complaining and want to do more and want to complain about the system. And it's like, you haven't even tried the system yet. How can you complain about it?
Yeah.
So let me ask you a question. You were once a PT clinic owner, and you ran a business. Alex and I in a sort of different setting, but with new grads coming out of PT school with these high student loans that they have to pay back, demanding salaries or rates that are as a business owner, you have to scratch your head and be like, okay, what logical reason?
Get ready for my answer. You may not like my answer. People aren't going to like my answer. I'm going to challenge most of the owners.
I'm interested because you know what? I always love to hear a different perspective. So a lot of people would usually DM me and say, "Why are you engaging with this person who is clearly doesn't see things the way you do?" But I like to get a different perspective, and I just need to know what's your opinion on that. And Alex, you could share your opinion on that too.
So if Alex called me, said, Jerry, I'm looking for a job, I'd go, cool. How much do you want? And of course, there's going to be dead air. And Alex is going to be going, I don't want to play my hand. I'm going to ask for too much, and whatever. And I'm going to go, look, Alex. And there's going to be dead air. And I'm going to say, and by the way, this is what's happened with my last 3 or 4 clients that I've helped with hiring. Now, fortunately, because I'm going to tell you how this worked out, every one of my clients got a number out of this person because I said, look, so let's say you're my client, Mo, and you say I need to hire someone. So the first thing I say is we need to know, right? How much should I pay him? I'm like, I have no fucking idea till we know how much they want to get paid. So step number 1 is how much do they want to get paid? Cool. We have that number. Then we have to answer 2 questions. Can we pay that? Yes or no? That's black or white. Then we have to answer the next question. Do we want to pay that? Yes or no? Because here's what I've done with people. So I get Alex to give us a number. We go back and I say, Alex, or I tell the owner to say this, Alex, give me 48 hours. I'm going to run the number and tell you if I can even meet that number. I'm not going to say yes or no right now because I'm going to run that number and see if it will work in the current model. I'm like, dude, there is no bullshit here. So I get together with my client. We run the number. I won't even begin to tell you. I'm not even going to share with you some of the numbers I've seen that I went, there's no fucking way. My client runs the numbers and I'm like, holy shit, it'll work. Again, that's why we run the number. So my thing to you, Mo, is most business owners don't know what they can afford or not afford to pay. So when I work with my clients, we work off of a financial sheet that I call the financial brain trust. It will tell you how much you can afford to pay people. And so Alex comes with the number, says, I want to get paid $100,000. So I say, just tell him we'll run the number and get back. So we bring it back, we run it through the sheet. It's like, we can pay that. He's got to see this many people at this rate to earn that and then contribute the rest of the business. Then I say to Mo, so do you want to pay this? Yes or no? Well, I'd like to not pay it all at once. Cool. Let's make a ramp up to it. Let's make a 3-month ramp up. Let's put together a deal. Then it's, do you want Alex? Yeah, I want to interview him. I want to see. Okay, so tell him, yes, we can pay this, and we're going to continue the conversation, but the offer we give him is going to be like a 3-month ramp up to that money, right? I did this currently. So I just did this with a client. He took on a person. He said, there's no way I can pay him that. I'm like, time out, dude, run it. We ran the number. Not only can he pay it, but the person came and said, I know I'm making a lot of money. I know I'm asking you to pay me a lot of money. I'm willing to take a pay cut for a full year to whatever you want to pay me to work my way back up here. Why? We ran the numbers. All that matters is, can that person generate the revenue to cover their salary? Well, guess what we found out? That person can generate the money. So I said, as the big fat thank you, you're going to show them how in 6 months, they're going to not only be back up where they were when they left, but they're going to be on a bonus plan at 6 months. So at 6 months, they're going to be making more money with this dinky little business that they thought they weren't going to make money at. So my point being here, you guys, is if we know how to run the numbers, we can say, do we want this person? Do we want to pay this person that much? No, cool. Sorry. you know what? We ran the numbers, and actually it will work, but it's too much stress on the system, and we can't afford to pay that full amount now. Boom, we're done, right? Because actually one of my other clients, when they ran the number, I was like, dude, this number and hiring that guy have nothing to do together. I'm like, that guy's not good for your business. He decided to go forward with him anyway. So, right. So, I mean, there was that part of it. So I have yet to run into one of my clients who got a number that they couldn't accommodate, meaning couldn't ramp up, couldn't build a bonus program around it. Zero. And kids, I'm going to tell you, there were some huge numbers. If the business owner understands the business side of it, they can punch that thing in. Doesn't mean they have to pay it. Doesn't mean they have to say, I'll pay it. But goddamn, know first if you can even fucking afford it. And by the way, some of these people, like the one person, they are going to end up getting the salary they left behind plus a bonus at 6 months. Because why? Because they were willing to take a risk. And I'm like, dude, to my client, his name's not dude, but I'm like, dude, why wouldn't you offer this to them? I mean, they'll be your employee for life, right? So it serves everybody, dude. It serves everybody, and we're not bullshitting anybody, right?
And that's the thing. And Mo, to give my perspective, I'll take the flip side of it, because, if as part of PT education there was a business component to the education, then this new clinician is coming out of school with a pretty decent understanding of how the business of PT works. So that then when you go to ask for this,
there you go. Yeah, there you go.
So that when you go then ask for this number, whatever it may be, you've got a potential employee and a business owner who both now understand the business of PT and can then decide if it's the right fit using what, as an example, what Jerry's described, his formula. Hey, can you run the numbers? The numbers work. Do you want to pay this? Right? Because the most important thing is understanding that it can be done. Mm-hmm. Once that part has been ironed out, then it's just like, are you a fit? Are you the right person for the seat that I need right now? Right? But it's real easy when the business owner doesn't understand the business to say, heck no, I'm not paying you that. And at the same time, as a clinician who comes out with a doctorate, we come out with this inflated ego of sorts to say, hey, I am a doctor, right? So I need doctor money. There's a huge disconnect, in my opinion, between knowing what a doctor is in our profession and the business that goes with being a doctor, right? That's
a great point.
If we can't bridge that gap, then we've got two people on opposite ends. We've got the business owners that's like, there's no way I can pay this. And then you've got the new grad, or anybody for that matter, because if I'm going up to speak to somebody, I know what I'm worth. I know what I can get. It's a matter of, can you pay it? Do you want to pay it, like Jerry said? And then even if you want to pay it, is it going to work for me? Is it going to work for you? Right? And then if you can get to that point where, hey, yeah, look, I can meet your number. Matter of fact, in 6 months to a year, shoot, we might be able to get you this number. Like Jerry said, man, that employee is not going anywhere. They will be there.
By the way,
if you have something
for context, real quick, it's all in writing, because before anybody goes off and going, I've been told that. All my clients put it in writing. Dude, if I showed you guys the last offer letter that went out, every single line, every single promise, even the bonus at 6 months, that we would sit down and meet at 6 months to then discuss the bonus. It's all in there.
And in my opinion, I'm of the belief that if you treat your people right, they will go the extra mile for you every day of the week. I would have no problem with an employer of mine saying, hey, Alex, we got some orthos, some post-ops that need to be seen on Saturday. Can you come in? And they're treating me like that. No problem. Hey, honey, I got to go in on Saturday. you know, it's a one-time thing, but they really need me. Well, damn, you get taken good care of. Absolutely. Go help them out. They help you out, go help them out. But when we treat people as replaceable, right? Because in my experience, most business owners just see clinicians as a number. How many can you see? How much can you generate for me? Never mind the fact what I'm going to pay you, right? When you're easily that replaceable, ain't nobody trying to go above and beyond for you. For what?
So it's about relationship.
I do the same work for the front desk person, by the way, right? We're going to put the front desk person on bonus too, right? Yeah. So it don't matter. So we're talking clinician right now, but I want everybody to understand this is everybody along the continuum. So by the way, I have people, same thing. Just a quick side note. I won't go too deep, but I have people go, how much do you pay your front desk people? I'm like, how much are they generating you, dude? It's just, I ask the same exact question for the front desk person as I do the PT showing up. I'm like, because we're going to put them on a bonus program.
It's going to be hard for a lot of clinic owners to see the value of what.
Yeah, because they don't understand the numbers, you know. Man.
Yeah. But if you're not getting cancellations, if you're having add-on items when people come into your clinic and customers are, you know, raving about the customer service, that's value right there. So there's some things you can't attach a price to. So I do believe that. So we've been on here more than 90 minutes. It's been great conversation so far. So Jerry, I'm gonna put you on the hot seat, but I'm gonna let Alex ask his questions first. So we're gonna do like 2 minutes on the hot seat.
We're gonna do the wrap up hot seat.
Yes, wrap up hot seat. You ready, Jerry?
Beastie Boys and Giants. What else you guys need to know? What else? There's nothing else.
Mo got me kind of on the spot. I'm trying to hot seat for Jerry.
Making that thing with my Beastie Boys and my Giants, right?
No, I mean that's.
What's your favorite genre of music, Jerry? Because I see you listening to a lot of old school rock and roll.
It's always going to be 80s influence. So I mean, look at hip hop. Look at all of hip hop, not just my Beastie Boys. Mm-hmm. Look at all of hip hop, right? Generated in the 80s. Dude, I remember like seventh grade was 1980, I think. No. 79 maybe. Seventh grade. And I look at, there was this
Alex is like, I wasn't even born.
Yeah. No. The huge tipping point, right? Rapper's Delight came out, right? Beastie Boys came out, right? But yet stuff like other people were listening to AC/DC, Highway to Hell album. I mean, so I think I grew up in the best music genre ever. And my parents, I listened the grooves off. I shared the other day, if you asked me like what were the 3 albums I listened to my whole life growing up, the Commodore's Greatest Hits would be in there, and then Frankie Valli and the Four Seasons K-Tel album would have to be in there. Because growing up from like way before 79, that was playing on the stereo at home every freaking day, man. Sonny and Cher, Commodore's Greatest Hits, and Frankie Valli and the Four Seasons K-Tel Greatest Hits. I knew every song on every one of those albums. So it's still that kind of late 70s into the 80s vibe, or that anything in there, anything. And the bulk of what I listen to, right, has its core there.
What's your favorite lyric?
You know what? I'm going to tell you. That's interesting you say that. Right? I can't sing. I can't dance. I can't play music. I can't write music. I love great lyrics. You know who my favorite lyrics are, top to bottom? Dave Matthews. Dave Matthews, man.
Share one.
Say again.
Share.
It says share one.
Oh, well, Dave, one of his songs, right? I can't believe that we would lie in our graves dreaming of things that might have been, right? That line, right? Forever, right? I can't believe that we would lie in our grave dreaming of things that might have been. And then in that song, he just says it over and over and over, right?
All right,
Alex, what's your favorite lyric?
Man, I'm definitely a hip hop head. You know, a lot of Biggie. You know, you take any of those classic Biggie songs. Those tend to really speak to me.
I was listening to one of his, I don't even know what it was, but it was dirty as hell. And it was on Pandora, so it was unedited. And I'm like, guy rhyming stuff. I'm not even going to repeat it.
Yeah, I mean, the stuff that he says, you know, like off the top of my head, I can't think of the exact lyric, but, you know, where he's like stitching gaiters to make the Lacoste shirt, like just the struggle. You know, to me, it's amazing to see these artists and how they can do these things. You know, Biggie, Pac, Jay-Z, Nas, Lil Wayne. You know, we talk about the shows that Mo, you and I, the other podcasts we like to watch on I Am Athlete. Lil Wayne was one of the guests, and to hear him like just talk about how he like comes up with stuff, it's crazy because to him words are play, right? Yeah. So he's just constantly thinking of a word and how he can make it rhyme. He's, you know, he made a comment. He's like, I've had a album done, and he'll go back and change it because he didn't like the way that he said a word. So he has to change the connotation or just change what he's rhyming. So, you know, there's just so many, but I think the biggest one for me is like, you know, Biggie is probably any, you know, think of anything that he rapped about and was that. I guess my question for Jerry here as we wrap up. So Jerry and I are cigar aficionados. So what's the best and most expensive cigar you've ever smoked?
Question, dude. It was my Christmas gift last year, not this year. And I still have some left in my humidor sitting right here. So the Eye of the Shark, Arturo Fuente. It's the Don Carlos series. I have a Don Carlos, but it's not as good. It's called the Eye of the Shark. And that thing I think it runs, if you buy it individual, depending on where you buy it, it probably runs like $25, $35, dude.
That's crazy. I mean,
but that Eye of the Shark, my wife bought me 6 for Christmas last year. And it's what I smoked on my birthday this year. So I go back, right? There's a Holt cigar shop, street level in Philly. Well, right next door is a door and it says Holt's. And you go upstairs and it is the best cigar bar, the best freaking bourbon section. And they have the Eye of the Sharks in the back. So I went in on my birthday this year, grabbed an Eye of the Shark, came out, got I paid, I'm just going to tell you guys. I think I paid $35 for the cigar and paid $75 for the bourbon pour. And that was my birthday. And I smoked the one cigar, had that bourbon, and then went home.
Yeah. Ain't that much more after that.
Arturo Fuente, Eye of the Shark, my favorite.
Awesome.
Never miss it, dude. But I'm going to say this. I got to say this out loud. I also have probably 10 cigars. Holtz does Ashton's does a bundle. They're $3 a pop. They are so fucking good. So at the same time, I'm grabbing my two $25 cigars. I grab like 10 of the $2 cigars.
Yeah.
They're so good, dude.
Good smokes.
Yeah, they're good smokes, man.
Awesome. Well, Mo, I don't know if you have anything else, but Jerry, man, thank you very much.
No. I really enjoy this. It's always a great time when I have a conversation with Jerry. I've been on his podcast as well too. You know, when we meet up in person, it's always good. Even with past CSMs after dark, them drinking bourbon and sharing like the patient experience and everything like that. It has always been good. It's been entertaining. Um, on a serious note, like when this country was going through a lot of social changes, he and I have had one-on-one conversations on ways he can help and be an ally. So he has definitely put himself out on the forefront. I know on Twitter you're pretty liberal, so a lot of people will probably see you as out there. And I've seen, yes,
It's
you.
gotten
I've
crazier.
seen,
Even today, it got crazier. I'm like, I'm
what
I,
happened today?
well, especially with I'm having a hard time processing how we move through the current Supreme Court justice without just using the R word, the racist word. I'm like, you got people standing up in front of God and country going, this is a very educated person, very qualified person, but I can't vote to support them. And I'm like, you just admitted you're racist. Then can we just go on record? I'm like, so I'm having a little hard time with this. So I'm sharing a lot of stuff this week regarding that. I'm just glad she's going through, and I'm helping to give a little push through. But
Well, we are Black and Brown podcast. We don't hold anything back. I know people are probably going to be wondering, why did we bring a white heterosexual male on our podcast to be our first guest? But you deserve that honor, and
well, I appreciate that. I appreciate that.
I have no regrets that you did. But growing up, I always knew that as a Black female, and especially as an immigrant, I had to work like 6 times harder than anybody else to achieve everything. And
that was just
a lot of people would probably say that we got our roles through affirmative action and everything like that. But the struggles that we had to go through, the stereotypes that we had to overcome, it's hard, and it it's frustrating to me at times that we have to be the bigger person when you have unqualified idiots. I'm gonna say the word, saying things to you and questioning your qualifications, questioning your intelligence, questioning your background, when they can't even be on the same level as you. And I am just amazed that I'm glad that there are more women getting on the Supreme Court, like Amy Barrett and Sotomayor, and I'm glad that she's Catania is getting this platform now. But seeing Kavanaugh, his reactions when he was being, going through the process, and how easy they were with Amy, it's just like mind blowing. Um, so I've kind of stayed away from certain topics now on Twitter. I will contribute here and there, but I don't want anything to trigger me that's gonna disrupt my inner peace. So, so I'm staying away from it.
I can see that currently, and I can respect that. And it took me a long while to understand that too, and I understand that probably more over the last year or two. At 55 years old, as a white male, than I ever did. I'll tell you the one thing I'm avoiding on Twitter this week is the Masters and anything to do with Tiger Woods. So.
Get out of here, man. That's about the best thing there'll be on Twitter. If you see my timeline, it's going to be all Tiger.
I know. And I'll be going, gee, mini Christmas. How'd that guy get up here?
Well, Jerry, thank you, man. Really appreciate your time.
Awesome. Thanks for
really appreciate everything. To all our viewers, hope you enjoy this one. A lot of good info, a lot of good content. Jerry, follow him at Jerry Durham PT and all the other stuff that he mentioned, but you'll find him on Jerry Durham PT. Reach out to him with whatever you need. He's a good guy, friend of the show, good person, man, and definitely just a good person in the profession. So everybody, good night. Enjoy. Be safe. Go Tiger.
Go Tiger. I knew it. Yeah, there we go, dude.
All right, TW. I'm going to root for him because that's going to be a great comeback story.
Yes,
So,
sir.
Good.
All right.
so
Thank
you
you guys
guys
have a
take
good one.
care of yourself. I hope Sebastian has a great birthday. Jerry,
Thank you.
you be good. Get some rest, okay?
Well, and happy birthday, Sebastian.
All right. Thanks, guys. I appreciate that.
Cheers.
All right, take care. All right.
See ya.
All right, bye.